everybody, what's going on? Welcome to House Money Sports. I'm Beanie. This is Casey, and today we're going to be going over the trade deadline because it's still the trade. Yeah, what's up, everybody? The trade deadline still hasn't ended yet. It ends in about 3 or 4 hours, so there still might be some stuff that comes out after this video, but we got some freaking bangers over the last 24 hours. My goodness, dude.
You went to sleep and Kevin Durant was still a Brooklyn Net, and then you woke up and oh my God, he lives in Phoenix.
Dude, last Thursday they were like a big happy family. Like, you know, they had gone on winning streaks. Like everybody thought they were
Brooklyn?
Yeah, they thought they were a contender, and now Brooklyn is just in like a full-on rebuild. But we're going to go over all these trades and just kind of talk about them for a little bit. Not all of them. Like I don't think we have too much to say about Kessler Edwards for the draft rights to David Michonneau. What do you think about David Michonneau, Casey?
Sorry, I got food in my mouth because I knew this wasn't going to be a comment.
Oh yeah, okay. That's what you're worth to us, David Michonneau. You're probably a great guy, not worth talking about though.
But you're a child of God. God loves you.
Yes, that's right. That's right. God loves you.
And just don't care what you prove yourself.
Yeah.
I care about you like you care about my NBA prospect.
Also though, I do have a sneaky trade deadline winner. It is going to be like the last team you expect to be a trade deadline winner, but there is one team that I think is just like, oh my God, this trade deadline was so good and nobody realizes it.
Are you thinking? Hang on. Are you saying there's going to be another move that you're predicting?
No.
This is my sleeper for everybody. Doesn't even notice this team.
It's
what they have or haven't done.
It's already happened. But okay. there is one team where the trade deadline has been. There's probably a lot of like, if there are a lot of people watching this, probably not. But there's probably at least one or two people that
the four of you will enjoy this news
that already know who I'm talking about, and just because they know how I think. But yeah, so we'll get into that at the end of the video. But first, I think let's start off with Kyrie Irving. This happened a couple days ago. This trade was weird to me because. I get it from Brooklyn's perspective. You're just done with Kyrie. You're ready to get him out. He's tanked. Like everything you were trying to do has been dismantled by Kyrie Irving for the most part, just from his antics and everything. So I get it. I don't love what they got back in compensation. For a player of Kyrie Irving's caliber, you would think you could get more, but he is on the last year of his deal, and the players and picks that they got back they do have a lot of upside. Like Dorian Finney-Smith is one of the best like 3-and-D role players in the league. Spencer Dinwiddie is very competent point guard. And they also got a 2029 first-round pick, which when you're talking about unprotected first-round picks that far out, that could be an extremely valuable pick. You know, Dallas...
We have no idea who that'll be in 6 years. That's a 12-year-old today.
It is. Well, and it's not even just that. Like Luka Doncic could be a Timberwolf by 2029. You know, like I'm just throwing teams out there, just like a random team. You know, we have no idea.
I've never said that name in not plural form. A timber wolf. I've still called it.
That's true.
Like he's a timber wolf. I still throw the V in there. Anyway, continue on. Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, but Dallas, on the same token, like I like this trade honestly a little bit better for Brooklyn. Like out of all the big trades that have happened in the Western Conference as a Denver Nuggets fan, this is the one that scares me the least. One, because it cuts out from Denver's depth. I think Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith were very, very important role players for that team, especially defensively with Dorian Finney-Smith. And Kyrie Irving is a super ball dominant player. Now he can play off ball. He's a good off-ball player, but he kind of, as a personality, demands to have the ball. And I think that a lot of people's thought process is like, well, Luka is going to be relieved to be able to share the load with Kyrie and not take on so much responsibility. Does that happen a lot where a guy is getting one of the highest usage rates in the league and they're happy that it goes down? They're happy they don't get to shoot as much. They're happy they don't get to drive to the basket as much. Like, to me, that's a little bit specious, but
I don't. Yeah, I've never felt like Kyrie Irving. It feels like or felt like some of the times that Russell Westbrook got teamed up with a guy that you thought like, oh, having these two guys together is going to be so. They're going to be an offensive dynamic duo, and then what really happens is they don't ever figure out how to work well together. They don't figure out the rotations, and then it's like they're good, but they're not like what you think when you have a superstar and a superstar. But like
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving is so close to a top echelon superstar, and Luka is a top echelon superstar. I don't know. Now, objectively, if they figure it out, if they do really coexist very well, this is a nasty trade for Dallas, in my opinion. Like they needed help for Luka because he can't perform 14-point comebacks in the last 9 seconds every week or whatever that was a few weeks ago. He can't do that.
Right. The one thing I will say, the difference between Kyrie Irving and Russell Westbrook, the similarity is that they're both extremely ball dominant, but the difference is that Kyrie Irving can actually shoot and space the floor, and Russell Westbrook is the worst shooter in the NBA. Like he's terrible. So I do think that that it's more likely that Kyrie Irving and Luka can coexist. And on paper, it's the best backcourt in the NBA. Like at this point, there's no arguing it. Like I mean that is clearly the best backcourt.
Have they played a game yet since the trade?
No, they haven't. I don't think. No, I think I'm 100% they haven't. But anyways, one thing that a lot of people have mentioned, but that we haven't mentioned yet, is the fact that you are betting on the flakiest player in the NBA, a guy who has never been happy in any stop.
$8 million a year.
No. $38 million for this year. Yeah. Like he is not signed beyond this. Like you are getting him for you are trading for 3 months of Kyrie Irving and the hope that he will re-sign with you. That is a wing and a prayer if I've ever seen one. Like Dallas just shrunk their their guaranteed competitive window to this year. Because if Kyrie Irving walks and you get nothing in return for him, you're in trouble. Like you're in trouble as a franchise. But I mean, now it does open up some cap room that they would be able to use on a max player this offseason. But if you look at the free agency class, it's not that dang impressive. It's not a great free agency class this year. You're not getting a Kyrie Irving caliber player.
It's safe to say the Mavericks think that by making this trade, they can win the championship. It's safe to make that assumption. That's what they think. And it's safe to say, based on how you're talking, they still can't win it because you still have Nikola Jokic and honestly, not even just the Nuggets. Like the West just got, I think the West, as far as conferences, the West is just cleaned up for win now, and the East is cleaned up for a couple years from now having really dominant teams.
Well, and it's so bizarre, it's so bizarre because the Eastern Conference, to me, before the trade deadline, was clearly the better conference. The West,
but I think Brooklyn looked at Boston and thought, "What's the point? What's the point in doing it now? Why don't we do it in 5 years, 6 years, 7 years?"
I don't think that's it. I really do think that it was just they had enough of Kyrie Irving. And whenever they traded Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant was like, all right, guys, I can't do it. I can't play with Ben Simmons as my number 2. Like, I'm sorry. The guy doesn't shoot.
It's funny because coming out of college, everybody thought like Ben Simmons was the next one. You know what I mean?
The first 2 or 3 years of his career, he was great. He couldn't shoot, but
but we all thought he was going to do it for 15 years.
Yeah.
Everybody thought like you were getting a guy that was going to carry your team for year after year after year.
I don't want to get off on a Ben Simmons tangent, but Ben Simmons is like one of the greatest downfalls in NBA history. Like it's pretty wild how fast he's fallen off a cliff. But yeah, this trade, if I were to grade it, let's do trade grades. If I were to grade this trade, I'd give it like a B- for the Brooklyn Nets just because I'll give it a B for the Brooklyn Nets just because you got something for Kyrie who was probably going to walk this offseason, and you get rid of a cancer on the squad, a guy that you view as a cancer, and you get some good players and draft compensation back. For Dallas, I would give it, I guess, a B-. I like Brooklyn's side a little bit better just because of Kyrie's personality. Now, if it was just players, I would give Dallas like an B plus, A minus. But because of Kyrie's personality and because of the contract situation, to me, I can't give it any better than a B minus. I even kind of want to go C plus, but
I would say I think the Dallas grade is tough. It's a range. It's like a C to an A plus, because if they win the championship this year, it's an A plus. I think if they win the Western Conference Finals this year, if they just go to the championship and lose to Boston, it's an A plus for me, because they probably weren't doing that. They would have gotten immediately better and put themselves in the best position. But
if they can do that,
same old, and they don't re-sign him, this is like an F.
Yeah.
If they finish 4th in the West and they don't re-sign him and they lose in the semi, like, it doesn't.
Right.
Who cares? You're probably going to do that anyways.
I think it's I agree with the range idea. I don't know if they win the championship and lose Kyrie, it's like, to me, it's like an A minus grade, because your future is still like mangled. You know what I mean?
Hey, he did play a game, by the way, but Luka did not play.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
He led in scoring in the game. He had an 11 plus minus. Solid little game, 5 assists, 4 rebounds.
But we still haven't seen
points.
them. Still haven't seen them together.
That's the question mark.
Yeah.
Okay. But this gives you the flexibility to have Luka take a night off when he has to, when he's injured, and you're not so reliant. I get it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Moving on to the next big trade, and this one was the one. This is the one that scares me. This one scares me, and it also frustrates me to no end, because it really, really feels like the Minnesota Timberwolves just gifted LeBron James and the Lakers a competitive team. I get Utah's side of it. I do, because that 2027 first round pick is going to be super valuable, even though it's top 4 protected. Like, that's a very, very valuable pick. Just because of, where we expect the Lakers to be at that point in time. But the Timberwolves, what are you doing? What are you doing, dude? You give up D'Angelo Russell, who is a borderline all-star level point guard, for Mike Conley? For Mike Conley, who is owed an insane amount of money for his production for the next 2 years. And 3 second-round picks and Nickeil Alexander-Walker? Like what? What?
Second round picks aren't worth as much in the NBA as in any other sport. That's what's weird to me, that seems like you didn't really get a haul back.
To me, I would rather get back air. Like, second round picks are 99.9% of the time, you're getting back either the 9th man off the bench or literally nothing. They're never going to see the court. Now, I say that, my favorite player is Nikola Jokic, and he was picked in the second round. But, that is like the extreme exception. That draft,
there's not as many gems in the NBA late rounds. Like, it's easier to know who's going to be the good ones.
Even in the back half of the NFL. Even in the back half of the first round, like, you're not getting a ton.
You're just picking guys you have no real confidence in their overall outlook.
Right.
But quick plug, by the way, Cade, whatever you're pulling up, sporttrack.com, this was the most complicated trade to read through this morning or yesterday, because everywhere had so-and-so goes here in a 3-team trade and goes here and here and here, but it wasn't all consolidated. Like, this is a great view to see what really happened, who's getting what, because I don't care who sent what, I care who gets what when I'm trying to read through the muck.
Dude, I'm glad you said that. Like, huge shout out to SpotRack, because anytime I need any type of information,
I read that wrong.
Yeah. Anytime I need information about contract situations or salary cap situations, SpotRack is my go-to. But anyways, back to the trade. Russell Westbrook to Utah, they're gonna buy him out. He's not gonna play for Utah. So Russell Westbrook is gonna be a free agent. And he's probably going to go and sign a veteran minimum somewhere and try to get on a competitive team. I hear the Clippers are a team that is kind of interested in him. That'd be kind of, I think that's a decent fit for him, because the things that he does are so anti-Clipper that it kind of works in a weird way, because they do everything that he doesn't do well. So he kind of brings another element to him that I think could really help him. But that's kind of besides the point. Utah, I think, did well because they got the first round pick, get a couple like decent, kind of role player, young players or whatever. But the team that really cleaned up in this trade is Los Angeles, dude. How? For Russell Westbrook in that 2027 first round pick, this is so much better than Buddy Hield. Like at the beginning of the year, everybody was like, oh man, let's just trade Russ for Buddy Hield. And some people said Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. That would have been really good. But D'Angelo Russell is so much better than people like to give him credit for, especially lately. Like the past couple months, he has been shooting the crap out of the ball. He's shooting like 45% from three the past few months. Malik Beasley is an excellent spot-up shooter. Like, he doesn't do anything else. As soon as he touches the ball is going up. But he's a very good, a volume three-point shooter. His percentages are, kind of, they're kind of average. But for a guy that shoots so much, it's pretty good. Now, he is paid a lot of money, but who cares at this point in the season? And then Jared Vanderbilt is... I don't know if I would call him an elite defender right now, but he certainly has the upside to be an elite defender. Now, the one thing with Jared Vanderbilt is he is an absolute zero on offense, and I don't think that's ever going to change. He is just nothing on offense, but defensively, he brings a lot to the table. So now, all of a sudden, LA went from, starting guys that I can't even remember their names to, they have depth. Their starting five, if I'm thinking about it right, is probably going to be D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and either Jared Vanderbilt or Thomas Bryant. On the bench, you're going to have Malik Beasley. You're going to have Rui Hachimura. That's a nice little rotation, man.
With that starting five, Jared Vanderbilt fits in great in the starting five because you don't need another scorer in that patch of guys, really. But I think this trade looks a lot like what you would try to pull off on a video game if you're a Lakers fan. You know what I mean? I really want somebody to pair up with LeBron, D'Angelo Russell. He was a rising star. A couple of years ago, I remember everybody thought he might be the up-and-coming best guard in the NBA. I don't think he's there, but he's a pretty solid, really top-tier guard still.
Yeah, absolutely. Super underrated, in my opinion. I've always been a big D'Angelo Russell guy. I just like the way... I think that people tend to underrate him because he hasn't hit that ceiling that a lot of people thought he had. But, yeah, I think he's great. If I were giving grades on this trade, I'd give Los Angeles an A+. As a Clippers fan, or not a Clippers fan, a Nuggets fan, this trade scares me. It really does. I just have this sinking feeling that AD is going to stay healthy. LeBron's going to stay healthy. They're going to vibe with D'Angelo Russell. Vanderbilt, Beasley are going to fit in really nicely. Darvin Ham's going to figure it out somehow. And they're going to come in as a 6 seed. They're going to work their way back up to the 6 seed. And they're going to meet the Denver Nuggets in the second round of the playoffs. And it's going to go to Game 7, and in Game 7, who knows? That's just my gut feeling. It scares me. It really does. So I'd give them an A+. Utah, I'd give a B+ too. It's not the most amazing package or anything because you do give up Beasley and Vanderbilt, but I think getting rid of Conley is actually kind of a plus for them. It opens up playing time for Colin Sexton, who's a young player that has some upside. It gets some payroll off the books for next year. And they also get a very valuable first-round pick that they wouldn't have been able to get with any of these players individually. So I'd give them a B+. And then Minnesota, I'm giving this a D-. I don't get it. The theory that I've heard is that Mike Conley just fits what they want to do better than D'Angelo Russell because he is more of a traditional point guard. But the problem is he's just worse at this point in his career. He's old. He's too old to be he is significantly worse.
To be a centerpiece.
Yeah, he's significantly worse than D'Angelo Russell. And for what you're paying him, he is a huge net negative on that team. I don't like it for them.
So I don't know if we even got it uploaded yet, but we talked about the Lakers, and you talked about, maybe we didn't even record this, but in a conversation you told me that your dream scenario was the Nuggets win, the Pelicans make a deep run this season, but then the Lakers absolutely suck and have to give that pick over to the Pelicans this off season, who then get Wembanyama and then have a couple of years of being like a really great team. And because you're a Nuggets fan and the Pelicans are your second team, so this has got to be a nightmare even in that respect, because you don't see them being a lottery team anymore, probably. Because chances are, like, I see this as, like, just looking at the standings this season, you got the Lakers, who are third from the bottom in the West. They're making the playoffs with this team. You got the Jazz, who are right below the play-in. The Lakers are making the play-in, at least.
Yeah, the play-in.
The Jazz are a half game back from the play-in. They're not going to make it. And then the Timberwolves are sitting at 8th right now. You expect them to probably fall back. This is objectively good for this season for the Warriors, the Trailblazers, which I think we have a trade for the Trailblazers we're going to look at here in a minute too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the Thunder maybe even have a better shot at climbing up into that play-in area.
Yeah, I think this trade is bad. Well, no. Given the fact that I think that Utah and Minnesota actively got worse, I think this trade is probably good for the Thunder, even though Los Angeles just got significantly better.
The Thunder have a lower chance of winning their play-in game, but more likely to sneak up the two spots they need to sneak up. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is even though there aren't any like ultra superstar names in this trade, to me, this trade is kind of earth shattering because it changes all the dynamics in the Western Conference.
There's a lot of chaos. I'm like looking at the standings and I'm like, I have no way to tell who's going to finish where.
I'm so glad as a Nuggets fan that we are so far ahead of everyone else in the West. We're 4.5 games up on the Grizzlies and like 7 games up on everybody else at least. So yeah, that feels good to know that we've pretty much got home court locked up for pretty much.
As good as you think that trade is for the Lakers, I think this next one is that good or better for the Suns,
dude.
Just for this season.
Okay, I agree, but there is a bit of a sting at the end of it. I don't think that this is the slam dunk that everybody is saying it is. I do think that there are some complications here, but you're getting Kevin Durant, dude. Like, you're pairing him with Devin Booker. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm going to try to be as moderated as possible and as, like, not freak out as possible. But, like, I want to freak out right now because this sucks. Sucks for me. Great for Phoenix. If I'm Phoenix,
it's a beautiful
I'm cutting cartwheels right now, dude. But let's start with...
It's a beautiful trade for now. Brooklyn side is also sexy.
Well... yeah, it is, but it's also, I feel like if you would have just waited, if you would have tried to compete this year with Kevin Durant, whether he wanted to or not, you've got him under contract for a long time. Try to compete with Kevin Durant this year, and if it doesn't work, trade him this offseason. And there are going to be way more teams bidding for him, right? Because... like the teams are going to have more money. They're going to have more cap space. There's going to be more unknowns. It's just usually it's better to trade players during the offseason. And this package, though it is good, I do think that if they would have waited, it could have been slightly better. But maybe, they were thinking bird in the hand better than two in the bush. But still, like with two in the bush, you still get to compete this year, So I don't know. This trade I think is complicated for Brooklyn, but the players that they did get back I think are extremely interesting because now this team defensively is extremely impressive. Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Ben Simmons, like they have some. It's like their entire team is full of wings and like 3-and-D wings and Nick Claxton. That's like their entire team. It's 3-and-D wings and Nick Claxton. But I do think that they're going to try to flip a few of these guys, like maybe Mikal Bridges, which they could get a significant amount for because he's a very valuable player. Cam Johnson is a guy that they could get some for. Cam Johnson is a guy that I would like the Nuggets to target potentially. If they could package Bones Highland, maybe a couple pick swaps, that 2029 pick, maybe a guy like Zeke Naji, something like that. I would really like to see the Nuggets go after Cam Johnson. I think he could really help us. Jay Crowder, he's another good wing. It's just so many wings. And then the draft compensation, it doesn't make up for the Harden trade, but it goes a long way. You know, I mean, getting 4 unprotected first-round picks and a pick swap in 2028, that's a lot. And the thing about it is a lot of these picks, like the 2025, 2027, 2029, 2028, the Suns are probably going to be well out of their competitive window, at least by the 2027 pick, because Chris Paul is like 38, Kevin Durant's 34. Devin Booker is a great player, but can he carry the team? Is he even going to be there by 2027? DeAndre Ayton, is he ever going to take the step up? I think Phoenix is going to be exiting their competitive window within the next 2 to 3 years. Their window to win is right now. If they don't get it done right now, I don't think it works.
And they'll have to rely on free agency to fill gaps because they're not going to have these first-round picks anymore.
Yeah,
so,
they can't trade.
Like, it's not, you can't just fill the coffer back up.
Right. You can't get young like star-level players. You can't trade for star-level veterans. Like, they're going to be in a tough spot once Kevin Durant ages out, once Chris Paul retires, which is probably coming up pretty soon, maybe after next year. They're going to be in a rough spot, but right now they're in the catbird seat, so to speak. But the one thing I will say from Phoenix's perspective, the way I view this team now is you have like a big 4. Like, you legitimately have a big 4. Chris Paul isn't as good as he used to be, but I mean, it's still the point guard. You know what I mean? It's so he's still Chris Paul. You also get Devin Booker, you got Kevin Durant, you got DeAndre Ayton. That's great. That's one of the
expensive.
Best. Yeah, but it's one of the best 4-man rotations in the NBA. You don't have a ton of depth beyond that. You have Torrey Craig, Josh Okogie, and then like I'm trying to think. You have Cameron Payne. Is that it? I think it's Cameron Payne. Like you have a little bit, and you also get T.J. Warren in this deal. Is he hurt? For some reason, I think T.J. Warren is hurt.
I don't think he's injured right now. I will say there's a tweet on just down your screen on Spot Rack that is that describes they're more expensive than the Bucks starting 5, and the Bucks starting 5 was the NBA most expensive starting 5 before the trade.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
It's they're paying a pretty penny. They did the same thing that the Mavericks did in that they're putting all of their eggs in the 2023 basket. And I think it's more meaningful for the Suns, who, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure have never won a championship. And so a one-time, that's what I think. Like, the Mavs are not a perennial. They're always very competitive. It feels like in my lifetime they've always been very competitive. But they've done it before. I feel like it's more meaningful for the Suns as a franchise and their fan base if they do it this year. Right, that it's worth the risk because this is as close as you've ever been to having that. The Mavericks, because of the whole Kyrie variable, when you compare it to something like this, you're almost like, man, if only we would have let another team trade for Kyrie, we could have been in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes here. Now, did they have what it took to make the trade? I doubt it.
No, they didn't. They didn't. Phoenix had the secondary pieces in the draft capital to get it done. I don't think the Mavericks could have.
But
I think
again, I think it's highly important for the Suns to win this year.
I agree with that. I agree.
It has to happen this year or next.
And before this trade, I don't think the Phoenix Suns competitive window existed anymore. I don't think they were winning with the team that they had.
You kind of thought that they were like peaked at 4th, 5th, 6th
Yeah.
in the West.
So because of that, I have to give Phoenix an A or an A plus in this trade. The only reason that I'm kind of sort of leaning towards A is because I think their bench is probably going to be pretty bad. Maybe they can figure out some staggered rotations to improve it a little bit. But I also, there are some questions just anytime you're bringing on a big personality like Kevin Durant, who's a little bit of an egotist, he doesn't get along with everybody. Like he fits schematically with the Golden State Warriors.
Thinks he's the best player in the NBA. Like he actively thinks like he's too hot.
Yeah. They're just a couple of questions there that keep me from making it an A plus, but I think a very, very strong A is about where I'm at. And then for Brooklyn, I would give it, I think, a B. I think this is an excellent package for anybody. I love Mikal Bridges. I'm a big Cam Johnson guy. I always like picking Cam Johnson in daily fantasy. Jay Crowder is finally going to get to play again somewhere. I don't know if he's going to get moved again, but who knows there. And then you get a bunch of draft capital. Problem is, the only reason I can't give it anything higher than a B is because I do think you could have gotten a little bit more if you waited for the offseason. But okay, next trade. That was the last like earth-shattering trade. But this next one is just I don't understand this one at all. I don't understand what Toronto's doing. Maybe they make a trade that kind of clarifies this a little bit like later today. But you're not competing this year, Toronto. Why are you trading for a win now like player like Jakob Poeltl, who's going to get more expensive in the future? And why are you trading a first-round pick for the privilege of doing it? Like, it is protected, but I don't know, man. I get the fit because they did kind of have a need for a need in the middle of that team, even though it doesn't seem like they should because they have Precious Achiuwa and Pascal Siakam, and like on paper they have a good front court. It's just they struggle a little bit defensively. I think they wanted a guy that could kind of come up to the free throw line, make mid-range shots, distribute things like that. Kind of, not like Jokic or Sabonis or Şengün, but kind of like a poor man's version of them. But I just thought this is a win now move for a team that has no business trying to win now.
Making a win now move, yeah.
Now on San Antonio's side of it, I love this. I love this trade. I think it's excellent. Khem Birch is whatever, good on you for getting him, I guess. But it's the 2024 first-round pick. Now, there are some protections on that pick, I think. I don't know. I don't think I've seen exactly what those protections are, but it might be lottery protected. But I think that's a pretty good game. And I think it's also maybe protected through like 2026 or something like that. So there's still a chance if San Antonio doesn't get it next year, they could get it in 2025. I'll have to double check that though. But just getting this pick for Jakob Poeltl, who, I think is a slightly overrated player. I think he kind of came up and surprised everybody that he was anything at all after they traded. And it's also kind of interesting that he's going back to Toronto because if you remember, he was initially the piece that came to San Antonio with DeMar DeRozan in the Kawhi Leonard trade. And there was that really funny Game of Zones. Did you ever watch Game of Zones, the NBA version of Game of Thrones on Bleacher Report? Well, there's this really funny episode where they talk about that trade and nobody can pronounce Jakob Poeltl's name. They keep saying, "Oh yeah, we have to trade DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl."
Yeah. Hey, you're gonna want to refresh your page. Another trade.
Oh God, does it affect me?
No, it doesn't affect you, but I think it's interesting enough because I wanted to bring it up, but that Jay Crowder trade.
Oh no, it does affect me. It does affect me.
Oh, I see Denver. Oh yeah, I didn't even see that one. I was looking at the Jay Crowder trade.
Yo, dude, Thomas Bryant as a backup center to Jokic. I am all in. I am all in on this trade for Davon Reed and 3 second-round picks. Dude. Dude.
I didn't even see that one. I'm happy that you're happy about it, but I literally did. Like I was trying to find out if that pick was protected. So I was rolling over to Roto World and I saw Jay Crowder trade. I was like, that's to the Bucks. That's probably pretty good. And I'm starting to like look around.
Wait,
golly, that's a decent trade there too.
Oh, this is a 3-team trade. Okay, we'll
Brooklyn
talk.
getting 5 more.
Yeah, we'll talk about this this trade first. Milwaukee gets Jay Crowder. That is very interesting. Now, because if he
plays,
he hasn't played all year. He will play now. He just hated Phoenix. I don't know why, but he just hated Phoenix.
The NBA sucks.
Yeah, but it is going to take him some time to ramp up. But if he can get back to what he is fully capable of being by the playoffs, I think this trade could honestly elevate Milwaukee to like maybe Eastern Conference favorites. Like seriously, because you got to think that Chris Middleton is going to have his rhythm back by the time the playoffs start. Jay Crowder gets his rhythm back. You know, everybody gets healthy. Everybody is kind of feeling the chemistry and everything. I think he fits with what they like to do. You know, defense. Yeah, I was
going to say, trade. I think this is a solid trade, and then I was going to say they're already guaranteed to make the playoffs anyway. Like this is the same thing as like any trade that Denver makes is like they're so far ahead that they have time to take a little bit of a risk on a high potential player.
Yeah.
Boston also made a move. They're getting Mike Muscala. We can really dig into this Jay Crowder trade, but I think that's also important. Those are the top tier Eastern Conference teams that seem to be trying to improve depth wise because like Milwaukee. He probably starts. I don't know, but I don't in the playoffs. But I don't know that that's really the thing. It's like we've already talked about in several videos. They're so good no matter who they put on the court, and if you just give them more pretty good pieces, you got to assume that's going to continue to happen.
3-and-D, baby. And then for Brooklyn's perspective, dude, just run with me here. This is the greatest package of all time. Think about if Brooklyn is able to turn these 5 second-round picks into 5 Nikola Jokic's.
Shut up. I think about them turning those 5 picks into a 6-man or a 7th man, like a really good.
Yeah.
But somebody, when it's time to win now, somebody that they'll get one of those guys out of that second round. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's almost how you have to
draft them or they trade them.
That's almost how you have to think about second rounders. For every 5 second rounders that you have, you're going to get one like 6-man, like good 6-man, like that. That's
you might get lucky and get James Harden, like years and years ago, right? He came on as a 6-man guy. Like you might get lucky and you strike oil with a guy like that, or like Jokic. But you're not.
James Harden was a top 5 pick.
Was he? I thought he was a further down, but he started his career as a 6-man.
Oh yeah. With
that's
like
what I was
Russell
saying.
Westbrook. Yeah.
I don't know why I thought he was a second rounder, but like you said, you can get lucky. I'd say you getting 5 of them, you go from a 0% chance to get a guy like Jokic to a 3% chance, still maybe even 1%, but still very low, but you got a shot. So you're saying there's a chance. And then you also end up with a position where you can get depth. And especially when you're adding them with 5 first-rounders you've just picked up and you're getting rid of really head cases is the word that I use for those like highly emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big tennis fan. Gael Monfils is like probably one of the better tennis players where he was 6-7 years ago that I love to watch, but I called him a head case because every time he'd make the semis, he'd get up in his head and he's really not that great. He needs to keep working and keep getting better.
Yeah.
And I think Kyrie has that problem. I think he's always had that problem. I think the only guy who has been able to pull it off for as long as he has is LeBron, because LeBron just was head and shoulders above everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you see a GOAT like Jokic, who doesn't seem to be all up in his head about how great he is.
No,
he seems to be very much like, people still don't respect me, and I don't really give a mother about it. Giannis is like that. Like, Giannis is very chill about it, it seems to me.
Europeans seem to have their head on a little bit better than like young American players, but
universal health care is what it is, I think.
But to put that into perspective, though, like Nikola Jokic is by far the greatest second round pick ever. Number 2 is pretty easily Draymond Green. And then I can't think of like who number 3 would be. I'd love to have a guy like that. Yeah. But I can't think of like who number 3 would be. Like,
that's a project we should do. We should comb through and come back with a top 20 all-time second round picks since like maybe the 90s.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Early 90s.
And then Indiana gets Jordan Nwora and 2 second round picks. I'm going to be honest, I don't know a lot about Jordan Nwora. I honestly, I know I know nothing. Not even virtually. I know nothing about Jordan Nwora. So Indiana, good job getting the 2 second round picks. But now, the biggest trade of the offseason. The Denver Nuggets get Thomas Bryant. Dude, Thomas Bryant is legit. Davon Reed has maybe played 5 minutes all year in garbage time for the Nuggets. Now, they do give up 3 second round picks, so 3 Nikola Jokic's. But they get back Thomas Bryant. And I didn't think a lot of people were on this train that the Nuggets needed a backup center. I get it, but to me that wasn't our biggest need. I was kind of more in the camp of a good, like, versatile defensive oriented guard or a 3-and-D wing. That's what I wanted. Even though we have a lot of 3-and-D wings, I think that you can't put enough 3-and-D wings around Nikola Jokic. But regardless of that, having a backup center that can come in with the bench and actually provide some rim protection, which Nikola Jokic does not provide, can come in and be a little bit more physical, be willing to pick up fouls, be willing to, do all the grit and grind that Nikola Jokic is just not part of his game. I think that is really valuable. And Thomas Bryant is like an ascending talent. I know before this trade, there were Lakers fans who were like all in on Thomas Bryant as like the 3rd best player on the Lakers. But if you, let's just go ahead and look at like his stats.
I'm coming through. I'm coming through Basketball Reference on all of these guys. Nwora, by the way, is a really good rebounding small forward, very young and getting better, but he is far below average right now. So just to give you insight into who he is based on the metrics, that's what he is. But he's getting better year after year.
Dude, per 36 minutes.
Thomas Bryant, honestly, dude, win share per 48 is on our list of guys that we're looking at in the top 20, he would be 11th on win share per 48. Casey. And you're putting him with the absolute head and shoulders guy, Nikola Jokic, at 0.32. You're right.
Tear to my eye, baby. Tear to my eye,
The Denver Nuggets are going to be, they have to, I think, it's a shame because we've already talked about the Mavs trying to win now and the Suns trying to win now. I'm really excited to watch the Western Conference playoffs.
Dude.
I'm really excited to watch it happen. I think knowing that the playoffs are physical, the Denver Nuggets probably have the lead right here.
Dude, they still haven't traded Bones Highland, which is probably going to happen at some point today. Like, so they could get
We're going to have to probably come back later with some more of this. Just for the sake of brevity on this, we need to probably
wrap it up,
review the rest of these trades, and then get this one up today so folks can come and see what's going on with trade deadline, because we're following it closely as recreational that are very interested fans in the NBA. I'm excited for it. I'd love to see Phoenix win it because they haven't done it. I also like that for the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah,
Nuggets. I'd like to see teams who've never done it before do it. Golly, is there any? Will they ever play on the court together, you think? Do they try to work the rotation out in that manner?
I do think that Thomas Bryant has a little bit of play as a as a power forward. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you try to play him a little bit just to provide a little bit of rim protection when Jokic is on the floor. The problem is they tried that.
You could move Jokic to point guard, I think. I think he has what it takes.
The problem with that is that they tried it some with Jusuf Nurkic back in the day, and it just didn't work. They just weren't very good together. But it's conceivable that they could be on the court a little bit together. But you look at this.
It's massive insurance on the off chance that Jokic deals with an injury. Like, it's really huge for them.
Absolutely.
In fact, because we talked about if Jokic gets hurt, they're only going to win 14 games most seasons. Like, that's the way that the team's been playing. So this helps probably elevate them to No Jokic, you're still a 30-win, 40-win team.
This is what I've said. If the Denver Nuggets can get their bench to be even, their plus minus to be even, they just don't lose any ground when they're on the court. If they can get their bench to that point, they're unbeatable. Nobody, the Celtics won't beat them. The Suns won't beat them. The Bucks won't beat them.
Spurs will beat them.
but the problem is their bench has always been for like the past 4 years. It's been historically bad, like really, 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 really bad. But what I was gonna say is, dude, look at that. Per 36 minutes this year, he's only playing 21 minutes game, but per 36 minutes, he's averaging 20 and 11. Like, if he was getting like
triple double backcourt or front court would be nuts.
The triple double
like having
double. And then Aaron
the
Gordon,
guy who's guaranteed a triple double right now, he's a favorite in Jokic, and then you have this guy who's putting up double doubles. Like,
yeah. Well, he's actually.
But they won't play together.
Yeah, and he's actually not putting up those numbers because he's only playing 21 minutes. His actual stats are 12 points and 7 rebounds. So,
freaking loser.
Yeah, but if he was, he'd be getting it. Yeah, but I love this trade. I love this trade. I love everything about this trade. This is awesome. And I'm really excited to see what they get for Bones Highland now if they do end up moving him, because if you get Thomas Bryant and you pair him with Bruce Brown, Christian Brown, Vladko Chanchar, all those boys on that bench, and you get Bones Highland, the black hole on offense, you get him out of there, bring in somebody who's a bit more of a guy that's less ball dominant. Dude, this bench could be, it could be above average even. I would go as far as to say that. This is awesome. But if I was grading this trade, for the Lakers, I'd give it a C. I don't know why they made this deal. If I'm Denver, I give this an A-. I mean, he's not like the most impactful player in the world, but it's still, the value is clearly on the side of Denver here. It's an awesome trade. But yeah, I think
let's scroll back down a little bit. I think there was another trade we had started.
Oh, Mike Muscala, you're right.
We haven't even talked about or the Knicks Blazers trade there, and there's another Blazers trade I think that just happened.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Let's go through these. Trades
fast.
Quickly. Yeah, Josh Hart for Cam Reddish, a protected future first. I like Portland's side of this trade. I'm a believer in Cam Reddish's ceiling. Like, he's a risky player. He's also he's a restricted free agent at the end of this year, but I like him as a player, and I don't think Josh Hart moves the needle that much for New York. I've never been that much of a Josh Hart guy. I think he's maybe a tad overrated. He does help them, but they probably are going to end up conveying that first round pick next year, because I do think New York is good enough to be actually, I think it's this year's first round pick. It's lottery protected, but I think they're going to have to convey that because New York is going to make the playoffs. So it makes New York better in the immediate. Portland, I think, is correctly shifting their focus more towards the future. So I like that trade for Portland. Boston acquires Mike Muscala, and Oklahoma City acquires Justin Jackson and 2 second-round picks. I think this is a mutually beneficial trade. I don't know why Boston is acquiring another center. Maybe they wanted to get like Mike Muscala. I'm trying to think. Is he the guy that is a little more offensive oriented? Because they have Al Horford, they have Robert Williams.
So
in 14 minutes,
okay, this hasn't popped up on Spot Rack yet, but the Trailblazers are also getting Chris Haynes and Matisse Thybulle.
Really? Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
We'll talk about that.
No, I'm sorry,
too.
not Chris Haynes. That's the reporter. Matisse Thybulle has been traded to
okay,
but that's not finalized, I don't think.
Okay, we'll talk about that if it pops up here. But yeah, I think this trade is just it's not that big. It's just not that significant, I don't think. That deal. Let me refresh.
It's a preference trade for the teams, probably for contract long-term reasons. It's got nothing to do with their ability to win this season.
Yeah. Now I will say I did kind of crap on this David Michonneau Kessler Edwards trade. Kessler Edwards is a good player. He'll help Sacramento. He will be a good rotational player for them. Dwayne Dedman, I think it's kind of interesting that San Antonio just kind of bought Dwayne Dedman. Apparently, I don't know. This might be wrong. For $110,000, like they just gave him away, and a second round pick
I would
that they
take
want.
that.
No, you know what this is? They just this is one of those trades where they just kind of bought Dwayne Dedman's contract for a second round pick. That's what that is. Because San Antonio can take on the salary, Miami can free up some cap room, and San Antonio can get a little bit of compensation. So yeah. Going back several days, I liked the Rui Hachimura trade for the Lakers, a young player with a lot of upside. I don't think Washington really got back anything of significance. I like the trade for the Lakers. And then these others, like as big as this trade is, I think they're virtually all like insignificant players.
I used to love playing with the Jazz and Derek Favors, like on NBA 2K13 or something like that.
Dude, I
loved that team. I did like an NBA My Player, and I used to assist to Derek Favors like it was my absolute job.
I thought Derek Favors was going to be the man, dude. Back in the day, back when we were hanging out a lot, I thought Derek Favors, that was like my dude, man. Yeah, okay. All these are from like, oh wait,
Yeah,
no,
that's
that was
September.
that was from last year. I didn't even like look at that. I was just kind of like quickly going through and looking at them. But yeah, no, I think that's going to do it. I didn't even realize that was from last year. I thought these were all.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking. It doesn't say who they gave up for Thibault, but it looks like that's official.
I'll Google it real quick.
It's a future move as well. You know what I mean? Like that's a great move for giving them a little more depth and a little more future. They might still make the play in and still be a decent team, but I think that the Blazers have gotten better for 2025 is what my assessment on the trade is.
I am really, really happy for Matisse Thybulle, and I actually think he's an excellent fit with the Trailblazers because the Trailblazers are chock full of like really, really good offensive guards, but all of them like suck defensively. Like Anthony Simons, Damian Lillard, Shaedon Sharpe, like they're just not great defenders. Matisse Thybulle is a dog, son. Like he's terrible offensively. He's kind of like the guard version of Jared Vanderbilt. But he is a great defender. Okay, so the trade details: Sixers get Jalen McDaniels. That's big time for the Sixers. But losing Matisse Thybulle, he wasn't playing a lot for the Sixers. I don't think that like the past
25 minutes.
Yeah, but the past month or two, like I think. I don't know. I don't follow them, but I have heard game log. Let's see. Game by game stats and performances. Yeah, just like 10 minutes a game. Like he hasn't been at the 20-minute per game threshold for months now. You know,
so he's going to get more run in Portland
for sure. Just because he's such a good defender. I think he's like an ideal six-man for a team that needs defense. Because he is just so good. But,
they definitely need defense.
Yeah.
Okay, well I think that's good on these trades unless you want to dive in a little bit more on the rest of that trade, but if anything else jaw-dropping happens, we'll spin up another one real fast today.
Yeah, we'll try to. For sure.
And then keep looking for our we're doing player profile series on NBA. We're also going to be starting up an MLB team Zips projections playlist for you so you can get caught up to date on everything 2022-2023 offseason for Major League Baseball and let you know exactly where your team stands as they head into the season and their potential to make a run for it. So be sure to follow us on Twitter, Beanie Antics, Edgefinder07, and subscribe, like, comment, tell us how stupid we are. That's the best type of comment we could hope for. for. So we
Yeah.
appreciate you guys watching.
Yeah, roast me for not realizing that one Rockets Thunder trade was from last year.
And congratulate me for yesterday getting Cade to change his mind on something was
That's
the
right.
greatest thing that's ever happened.
That's right. This video is going to be an hour long. I'll see you guys later. Peace.
All right, see ya.